What is up, everybody? I don't know if you're still in here. Local admin. What does that mean? Poor dirt farmer. What is up? John Eagle. What's up? Dan. What's up? Dan's in the waiting backstage. Can't tell how many people are in here. Six. All right. Should I wait for some more people? Latinida. Latin Dian. What? I can never say that right. Brandon, what's up? John Denicola. Lou, what's up, Lou? Good guy, epic roller. John. All right, I'm starting. So we're going here. I'm going to bring Dan up right now. Dan is the man from Erie County, auditing Erie County, and he's been going through some stuff. So let's bring him up.
What's going on, guys?
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
I can't hear you that great. Maybe it's me. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you good.
All right. I'll just turn my volume up here. How about now?
I can hear you fine.
All right. Okay. 51 people in here so far. I think we can get started. Your name's Dan, right? Dan, Erie County? That's not your name.
It's Dan, just Dan.
Just Dan. Dan is from Auditing Erie County. He is a very fantastic journalist, auditor, civil rights activist, whatever name you want to give it. He does a great job. He's been going through some serious stuff. I put the links to his channel in the description. I also put the Lackluster link where he took 4 of your videos, put them together, and told the whole story of what you've been going through. And I'd like for you to tell us that story, but a few things before that. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Western New York. I grew up in Alden, New York. I've always been part of Erie County. I always lived here all my life. Gonna be 40 on Christmas.
Really?
Um,
Merry birthday.
I took up auditing because I just had to see for myself. I see some other auditors who just play the videos where all of a sudden you see them arguing with police and stuff, and I wanted to see if I get the same reaction or if I get the same thing here in New York, in Western New York, my area, if I did exactly what they said they were doing. And the answer was yes, we sure did. And
you sure did what? Get the same reactions as all the previous auditors?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so they're not editing it to make it look bad. It is bad.
No, because some of them, some auditors, without mentioning names, would go ahead and put out video where all they showed was the arguments with the cops, because a lot of people don't have time to watch an hour-long video or something like that, or past videos and stuff like that. So I started my channel with the idea that I would post all the interaction, including from this time I stepped onto the property to the time I left. That way there's no argument of what happened in between, and you get the same reaction as most of these do. And I try to dispel things as much as I can too, to try to prove, like I always say, you can make a cop hater hate the cops all day long, but when you can out professional the cops and get the bootlickers to be like, whoa, why is that cop doing that? Why is he acting like that? Now we're winning because we got both sides on my side. So
the thing I don't like about that is no matter what a cop does, it's because you were there, and if you weren't there and you weren't harassing everybody and holding a camera, if you're just standing there, you're fine. But once you have a camera, everything's out the door, all common sense and everything. Am I wrong there?
You ain't wrong.
So how long have you been doing it?
I started my channel. My first audit I started, it would have been March, maybe 20th, somewhere on the 21st of 2001.
2001.
Yeah, I was the First Amendment auditor in Western New York. I think there's a few others now.
2001?
2021.
Oh, okay.
I'm the inventor of the First Amendment audit. No.
Okay.
No, yeah, you're right. 2021.
My brain went sideways.
Almost 3 years. Almost 3 years.
Like my hair. Anyway.
Not almost 23 years.
So for only 2 years, dude, you've made a huge impact. Your channel's amazing. Your demeanor's amazing. I just watched another one today where you're standing outside of looked like a sanctuary hotel where they were bringing undocumented people, so to speak,
So
to stay at these
I did a
hotels?
huge investigation on the whole situation because it's going to affect my community, and people want to know what's going on with that. And I did do a huge investigation, and these immigrants, they're definitely immigrants. They are not asylum seekers. They're just immigrants. They technically are legal. They have legal paperwork from the government. I find that some of them enter the country the legal way, meaning going to the port of entry, being detained for X amount of time, and then they got paperwork, and now they're supported by the government where they're living in hotels, and that situation is kind of out of hand. It's almost like a human trafficking organization for money.
How
Um,
is the government paying? uh, What? How did they become legal?
does
You
that
said they.
surprise you? The government's making money off these people.
No, it doesn't surprise me, but how do they come to the border? So they come to the border, you say they're detained for a while, then they gain paperwork. What gives them
Some
paperwork?
of them rush the border, go across the border illegally.
Yeah.
But then once they hit certain churches that I find, the churches get them paperwork, then all of a sudden they're legal. So to me, that's still an illegal immigrant. But
What
some
kind
of
of
them go
paper?
to turn themselves in at the border. They ended up at a detention center for about 2 weeks. And then they're given legal paperwork and they decide where they want to go in the United States. The government sends them there. They pay a company. The company in New York here is called Doc Go, and they pay Doc Go X amount per immigrant, and they keep them in a hotel. They house them in a hotel. They feed them, and then from there, that's what we got. I mean, the thing that caught my attention with the whole thing is that there was two rapes that happened in Western New York here, where migrants actually raped two women, Western New Yorkers, and it caught my attention enough to go down there and start doing some video recording. And one of the migrants came out and talked to me, and I learned a whole lot. Shut one of the migrant hotels down. We didn't really shut it down. They just kind of moved them to a different hotel away from that area. And so there's two types, one that go through the port of entry, one that rushes the border, and they, cross in illegally, get to a church, and they kind of become sanctioned by the church. But
What kind of
eventually, they all get
paperwork can a
paperwork.
church? What kind of paperwork can a church give somebody to make them a lawful person?
I don't know if they sponsor them in that. I mean, I've got some of their paperwork.
Okay.
I've got petitioned some of them, and I talked to some of them. I got them to email me their paperwork, because what's going on with the hotels is that the hotels get paid X amount per month or per week, and they're telling these migrants that they can't get working papers till they're with the hotel for a 1 year. So they
Okay.
can't go to work, become tax-paying citizens, and get their own place till they're there with a year, which I think is a farce. I think that's the companies trying to make it so that they can make more money off them for a year before they let them get on their own, which I'm actually going to find out, because I've got to hire an immigration attorney, and some of the people who got me their paperwork, I'm going to see if I can get them working papers before then to get them off the taxpayer's dime. Because my personal opinion with immigration in this country is, if you want to come to this country, if you want to be a part of society, you want to pay taxes, and you want to support yourself, I have no problem with anybody coming to this country. They're going to be a law-abiding citizen. So um, calling them asylum seekers is a real farce as well.
Asylum from what?
That's exactly it. Nobody can tell me what they're seeking asylum from, but we got the government paying for them. And if they're asylum seekers, then we should at least know what asylum they're seeking from these countries. And then the other thing is, someone from Venezuela seeks asylum. They can't travel 5-6 countries in an ocean, and just come to whatever country they choose. Asylum is moving to the nearest country for refuge. So
Yeah.
the whole asylum, that's what they call them, so that the people feel sorry for them, I think.
Also at that hotel, the cop was trying to explain to the hotel manager that you're just a guy who basically gets off recording people and tries to get a rise and tries to get lawsuits. And then he said, that's the one I watched today. But unfortunately, in this country, we have a First Amendment.
Unfortunately, and the same thing
Unfortunately.
that officer said is, he tries to bait people to look stupid, and to try to make
Yeah.
fools of them on the internet, and then he goes and says something like, "Unfortunately, we have the First Amendment." And what I have to say to that is, boy, You guys do make it easy sometimes for me to
For
make a
real.
fool of them. But like, am I really making the fool of them, or are they making a fool of themselves? You
That's
know?
the thing. They think that you're again, it's when I say rapist mentality, it's your fault they're acting that way. It's your fault that they swore to protect the First Amendment out of this side of their mouth, and then out of this side of their mouth, they're saying, unfortunately, we have a First Amendment. It's either you preserve, protect, and defend it like you swore when you rose your hand up, or you don't like that we have one. Get off the police force.
Yeah,
You're
I
in the
mean,
wrong spot, dude.
if you
Go
gonna
to
swear an
Israel.
oath to the
They would love your
Constitution,
attitude over there.
if you're gonna swear an oath to the Constitution and say, unfortunately, we have the Constitution, you're
That
definitely in
should
the
be
wrong spot.
fireable offense, should it not?
I think it should be.
That should you say anything like unfortunately we have rights in this country and you swore to protect them, you should be fired.
We hear it too often, though. It's not the first video where I have cops saying, unfortunately, he can do this.
And when I tell people cops are
Unfortunately, we can't
literally
remove him from this building.
right,
Unfortunately, we can't stop him. It's crazy.
when I tell people cops are literally trained to violate your rights, I'm the cop hater, I'm a conspiracy theorist. Not all cops are bad. It's just a few, every excuse in the world where cops don't even have to know the most basic rights and protect your rights. What else was he saying that lady? Unfortunately, we have a First Amendment. You
I
have a
exploit
YouTube
that right.
channel. Huh?
I'm exploiting that right.
Yeah, you're exploiting your rights. Isn't that what you're supposed to do with your rights? Isn't that what they're for?
And then he says, and if we forcefully remove him and we get a lawsuit, and then there is a video on top of it, as if like
Right.
if there wasn't a video, he might have attempted throwing me off the freaking property.
That's exactly what got him to this point. There wasn't a million camera lenses on him like there is now. And now that they've been doing this for decades, it's the camera's fault for exposing it. It's not their fault for doing it, building this culture of violence and unconstitutionality. It's our fault for showing other people what you're doing. Am I right?
So if their opinion is this damn.
Okay, so what else? Lackluster did a great video covering all yours. You thought that was great, right? What he did?
Yeah, that was a nice video. It
So
definitely got some exposure out there.
I know some people are going to want to talk about January 6th, of course, right? So
Yeah, I mean,
why were you there? Why were you in DC on January 6th?
President invited me down there to protest what some people, including myself, whether people like to hear it or not, thinking that election wasn't the fairest and most honest election of all time, as they claim.
I can't remember a fair election in my lifetime, so okay.
Mean, so I just went down there to check it out. It was the first time going to the Capitol of my entire life. I've never been there, so I went down there as a tourist. I went down there as someone who, couldn't possibly see Joe Biden. And as far as like liberals versus Democrats or Republican, the thing that trips me up to think that Joe Biden got as many votes as he did was how in the world did Joe Biden pull 20 million votes more than Barack Obama? That should make a Democrat think that on themselves,
I mean,
I
without trying to get
know a
kicked
lot
off
of
the
people don't like to get
platform.
into politics on these channels because we want to appease the both sides. But I mean, just think about
No,
it.
I don't care. It's not that. It's not
How in the
about
world did Joe
politics.
Biden, the goof ass that he is, pull more votes than Barack Obama? And Barack Obama had a support from a lot of different areas.
I just don't want my channel banned because YouTube hates when people actually talk about this subject. I'm just gonna say the Al Gore election, there was issues. Every election, there's disputes. The 2004 election with George Bush, where I was from in Ohio, instead of adding more machines to get the lines through, what they did was take away machines, and thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people didn't get to vote that night. And there was the Diebold machines where in government testimony they said all you got to do is change the source code inside the machine, and if you vote for so and so, it'll flip the vote for you automatically. Elections get tampered with one way or another. I'm not going to give an opinion on this one because I can't prove it, but there's things out there. There's a thing called I think it's a Dinesh D'Souza put out 5,000 Mules. So okay, did you go there because of that? you thought the election was garbage, or did you go there, like you said, as a tourist, just to go there,
Definitely
see?
both. Definitely both. I
Okay.
couldn't imagine, like
Now,
I couldn't imagine Joe Biden won. I really, I find it hard to believe. Right down to Trump was ahead in the election. All of a sudden, they froze the elections and stopped for counting for the night. Then they started in the morning. There was a huge spike. I mean, it smelled of, it
how
reeked
dare
of
you?
corruption.
How
But I
dare
mean,
you?
to say that I went down there for that reason is definitely it. The other reason, obviously, I wanted to, check out the protest or the rally. It was supposed to be the Stop the Steal rally, and I went down there to check it out. I'd never seen coming what happened. That's for sure. I'm gonna
So,
tell you
so the
guys firsthand being there. What you see on the news definitely is not what happened that day. I mean that's not what I seen that day. I mean all the footage you see from the news of the rioting, unless it happened on the other side of the building where I was at, that's not the way it all went down.
right,
Um,
we're gonna get to all that. So, when you say stop the steal rally, was that where Trump was giving a speech?
Yeah, so Trump gave a speech early in the morning. He gave a speech, then said, after the speech, everybody was supposed to march down to the Capitol and peacefully
Peacefully.
protest, is what he said, even though they cut out the peaceful part when they're trying to prosecute him. And the only thing that he lied about that day is he said he was going to join us and walk down there with us, and he never showed up down there.
I think the excuse he gave was that it was gonna be his detail told him it'd be too dangerous for him to do
Yeah, I
that.
don't think they were gonna let him go. I
Right.
mean, there was I went down there and I talked to some guy who, put the setup in front of the one hotel, and I was talking to him, and he said one thing he said is all the rallies that were held in DC since the beginning, this one had about 5 times as many people as any rally he's ever seen. Like, to
Right.
say how
No,
many people were there on that one. So I mean, like, I couldn't imagine him walking down there with that huge crowd. I really couldn't, but he said he was
no,
ready
he
for it.
he just he just put the cart before the horse there, what I think. And how far was it from where he was giving a speech to the Capitol?
So you were standing, like I was standing in between the Washington Monument and the White House. I don't know how many people been to Washington D.C. to know how far that is, and then walking down to the Capitol. It's probably a 5 minute walk from the Capitol to from the White House to the Capitol, right down the one main street.
And
And
his speech was at the White House?
so it was in between, like the crowd of people would have been standing in between the White House and the Washington Monument.
And then how many of the people from the speech actually went down? 90%, 80, 60?
Probably 90 to 95%. Like the whole
Almost everybody who
Yeah,
was there.
everybody walked down there. So I woke up late that morning. Like I didn't, I just got lazy and I slept in. So like if you were there early in the morning, you would have got, closer to the White House and you would have been last to the Capitol. So I would slept in, and hell, if I didn't sleep in that morning, I might never made it to the building because like I couldn't make it to the front of the White House up by the gate because I mean the crowd was so thick and so crowded you couldn't walk through there. Like it
How
was
many people would you say?
5 million.
Literally a million? Literally?
5 million.
5 million people at his
Five
rally.
million. That's the guy. That's the estimate that the people were saying that they were down there. Like the guy who I said this is 5 times bigger than anything he's ever seen. Like I don't know if you ever. I don't know if they have aerial pictures of it, but like what I'm saying is between the White House gates and the Washington Monument, you couldn't walk through there. Even if you wanted to get through there, there was nowhere to go. Like there was
5
that many
million
people standing
people.
there. I mean, I didn't count them, but
No, but
but I
isn't
mean,
that like
that's
more than the inauguration parade?
yeah, that's what the guy said. And I didn't go to the inauguration parade. I didn't go to any of the rallies up there. It was the first time I've ever been to DC, but he said it was about 5 times bigger the amount of people there that day. That like so to say that once I got from the speech and I walked down to the Capitol, I was definitely one of the first people to the Capitol area. And then
Like, what was
once
the
you're
scene
there,
like when you got
if
there?
you wanted to turn around and walk back, you weren't going nowhere. There was a
A
million people
wall.
coming, and then 4 more million people coming after that. Like there
So
was,
when you first arrived on the
I've never
grounds,
seen that many people in my life in one place.
I didn't think it was 5 million sounds astounding to me. Uh, when you first got to the Capitol, what the scene look like?
So the first thing that was suspicious about the Capitol when I got there was there would have been 3 gates that would have kept anybody probably about 200 yards from the Capitol steps. When I say the Capitol, I'm coming up on the which what I would believe to be the backside of the Capitol. Which, if you were standing at the steps at the back of the Capitol, you turn around, you would see the Washington Monument down the way. So I believe that to be the back of the building. I think the front is on the other side, but when I first got there, the first thing that looked super suspicious and super odd was that there was 3 sets of fencing. There was a metal set of fencing that was like the metal gates that like latch together, and they're
Yeah,
like they stand alone. They kind of
one
like
you could
turn. You
jump
see
right
as a
over.
turnstile, and they stand alone, but they would link together, and you could make a turnstile. So there's a fence like that all the way around the Capitol, and then another 50 yards to probably about another 50 yards to 75 yards in, there was 2 sets of green fencing. Like here in Western New York, we call it a snow fence. I don't know what down south they would think of it as, but like it's like a plastic fencing that's you could roll it up, but it's staked in, and it was enough for like there was 2 sets of them, so there'd be 1 set of fence. It's probably about 4.5 feet tall, and then 5 feet in, there's another set, and I would imagine it would represent like if you were to run and jump one, you would run into the other one, not have enough momentum to jump 2 in a row. And I imagine it was just to like slow down crowd if somebody were to rush it. But
Aren't
when
those
you're,
really flimsy?
yeah, they're real flimsy. Like you could probably, if you had a pocket knife, you could just cut them,
Can't you
or
just step on them and push them down too?
you probably could, yeah. I mean,
So
like
was there any?
depending on how
Was
good
there any?
stake they were up with stakes or whatever. But so when we got there, there was Capitol Police rolling back the fence, and then people in plain clothing, and they were rolling the fences up and moving the fences out of the way and telling the people, all right, go ahead, you can go right up to the steps of the Capitol.
Who was doing this?
Capitol Police in Capitol Police uniform, and random people that were just there rolling them up. I couldn't tell you who they were. They weren't in uniform. They were just rolling back the fences. There was Capitol Police telling you can go right up to the steps of the Capitol. So that was the first thing that was odd to me. And then
So,
when we got up to the steps of the Capitol, the second thing was odd. That was, I walked right up to like the steps of the Capitol, like off to the side a little bit. And the second thing that was odd was a set of Capitol Police in riot gear, like the black gear, black helmets with the face shields on them, and billy clubs, and all dressed in black, looking like Ninja Turtles. And they went probably like a group of like 40 of them. They went like maybe like 70 yards out past the steps and just stood in the middle of the crowd. And
so,
you would think that they would have stood right in front of the steps if they were going to have any effectiveness.
so they went past lots of people and made a line in the middle of a crowd.
Yeah, they stood like in 2 rows of 2, and they just stood in the crowd, in the middle of the crowd. And once was like a majority, like I want to say a majority of the people, because when I went to leave, there were still people coming down
So
towards the Capitol.
let me see if I understand this. You're walking to the Capitol. There's millions of people also walking to the Capitol. When you get there, there's those latch fences like they have at festival parking lots to guide the cars, right?
Right.
Things you could literally just push over, pull apart, right?
Yeah.
And then a little further in, there's plastic fences with stakes in the ground, 2 rows of that.
Yep.
And then what was after that?
And then, there was probably another 100 yards to the Capitol steps of the building.
And when you guys got there, they took out all the barriers and
All the
barricades
barriers
in
they
town.
took down, and the Capitol Police and the people taking down the fences, and everybody can go walk right up to the Capitol.
The Capitol Police and these people who are not identified because they're not wearing a uniform said,
Everybody's
everyone
allowed to
go
step
up to the
right up to the
stairs.
Capitol.
Everyone go up to the stairs.
At the base of the stairs, the stairwell, there would probably have been another set of those metal fencing. So, like, once you got there, you wouldn't be able to walk up the steps unless you took them down or went around them.
So what was the environment like? Was it hostility? Was it screaming? Was it aggression? Was it
No, it was like, I mean, you had kids in strollers and wagons. You had old people in walkers. You had like that. And when you got up to the steps, you got up to the steps, and I don't really remember. I mean, some people might have been chanting or just hanging out, or um, people were
But it was peaceful.
flags. It was super peaceful. And then once the crowd got real thick, all of a sudden, then all of a sudden I was hearing fireworks going off. Like somebody was lighting off big bang fireworks, like K1000s. And
Oh,
I'm like, who the hell brought fireworks here? How stupid is this to bring fireworks here,
very.
right?
Hmm.
And that's when a few more went off, and I realized it was the Capitol Police on top of the steps shooting flashbangs into this crowd.
And now you're saying the crowd hadn't got violent or nothing up
No,
until that point?
they weren't breaking past the fence. They weren't doing nothing. Um,
Everybody was peaceful, hanging out,
Everything was
old ladies,
peaceful. You're
young
talking old
kids.
ladies, 3-year-old kids in strollers. I'm talking like babies, old people. And once the flashbang started happening, there was an old man who had a heart attack or something like that, and they needed to get him out of there. And there were some people yelling to the Capitol Police on top of the steps, "This guy needs medical attention!" And you really couldn't get him out of there because there were so many people. Like you couldn't just walk through the crowd. You would have to really you'd be like going like this
Yeah,
your way through this, and
like
then there'd be
nightclubs.
people be pissed off like, where do you want to go? There's nowhere to go. And you know what I mean, like you were chest to back, chest to chest, shoulder to shoulder. There was just nowhere to go. And now they're shooting flashbangs at the crowd. This old man has a heart attack. Someone took one of the like a group of guys took one of these metal fences that link together, and they made a cot out of it, threw the old man on it. They held it over their head, and they made their way through the crowd to get to the street to get him to an ambulance. And they just kept throwing flashbangs into the crowd. Then there was
So what did that? So they threw flashbangs into the crowd. What did that do to the crowd?
pissed them off.
So now we
I mean,
start hearing yelling, screaming,
you're
and
talking
cussing,
about
right?
dads there with his 3-year-old kids getting pissed off because they're shooting flashbangs, and then they started tear gassing the crowd, and
Okay.
you couldn't go nowhere. Like you couldn't just retreat and leave. I mean, as if you wanted to leave, you'd have to push through a crowd of people. Probably 100 yards long line of people that are chest to chest, and then behind that, there's another million people still walking down there, coming chest to chest. Like there was just nowhere to go.
You were stuck, even if you
And
wanted
then
to leave.
that set of Capitol Police that were 40, 50 yards in the middle of the crowd were just in there roughing people up, just smacking people with clubs, and to the point where like they started pushing back. There was like a pushing match between all these people, and eventually they were like, I was standing up front and I had a flag, a 6 foot by 4 foot flag that said F Antifa. And I was standing up there. I was holding it like in front of me, guarding myself so I couldn't get hit with a flashbang or tear gas jugs, or they were shooting paintballs and
Pepper balls, probably.
rubber balls and pepper balls at the crowd. And I
Hmm.
was just using that as in watching what was going on, and I was just in shock and awe. And then eventually there was a group of people who climbed up on like I want to say like the railing to the steps, but like the railing is a
Concrete.
concrete stone. I mean, the railing was probably 4 or 5 feet wide, and it went up along the thing, so it was enough for like 3 people to stand shoulder to shoulder on there. And they started crouching up the Capitol, yelling at the Capitol Police to stop shooting the flashbangs, to stop pepper gas in the crowd. There's nowhere to go, and they're pleading with them to stop. And at one point, I was with my one friend, and he was a little further back. I went to go get back with him, and I was standing up on a cement block. So I was probably, the cement block was probably 3 or 4 feet tall. Once I got off that, I started getting the effect of the tear gas because the gas stayed low, and all of a sudden I couldn't see. And eventually, I was like finding my friend. He found me. I'm trying to like rub my eyes. I'm tear gassed for the first time in my life. I've never been tear gassed in my life. I've never been anywhere anything near that crazy. And they I was trying to get my eyes to see it. Also, I heard my friend yell, "They're going up the stairs!" And like eventually they just the Capitol Police that were at the top of the stairs just went back and opened up the doors.
And just let everyone in.
I mean, I don't know if they were just overwhelmed and they had no choice, but I mean, I've heard things like, the doors on the Capitol are magnetically shut. It would take something like 2,000 pounds of force to open these doors. Somebody had to shut those magnets off to let the people in.
Also, it was unlocked.
Yeah, I mean, when I walked into the Capitol, there was a Capitol police officer at the door holding the doors open. I didn't walk through a locked door. I didn't climb through no windows.
How many people would you say went in?
I don't really know, but I
Mhm.
do believe they arrested around 2,000 people who went inside
That day?
that day. And the whole thing of what from the time the Capitol doors were breached to the time they pushed everybody out, you're talking 17 minutes.
17 minutes from the time the doors were
From the
open?
first person walking in to the last person walking out, 17 to 20 minutes tops.
That's it?
That's it. And it wasn't hard to get the people out. It was like, it's time to leave. You guys got to leave now.
Yeah, and then the guy they falsely imprisoned who was wearing the horns got on the microphone and said, "Let's appreciate our Capitol Police. They've been really good and cooperative.
Yeah, they let the people
Let's
in.
all get out of here now."
Now, in like, if anybody's seen the Tucker Carlson stuff, where Tucker Carlson got the footage from the or from the Capitol when they
Hmm.
put the House Speaker McCarthy in, he finally released the footage.
Yep.
There was, he showed the footage of what really happened that day and what it was really like, and like that Brian Signick that they said got crushed in a door.
Yeah.
They show footage of him going like this, calling the people in, "Come on in, come on in." I mean, at one point I walked in and I was walking right next to a Capitol Guards. We walked in together, and I'm walking down the hall of the Capitol, and like, honestly, I didn't know I was doing nothing illegal or wrong at this point. I was literally like, if I knew I was doing something wrong, or I knew that there was a setup, or if it was a fix it was in or something, I would have video recorded what was going on. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
you weren't recording all this?
Shit, I was taking pictures of the statues. I was taking pictures of the banisters. I was in awe on how beautiful the building was. I was taking pictures of the rotunda ceiling. I mean,
How long were you inside?
I was a straight tourist.
How long were you inside?
I was in the side for about, I think the from the time I went in to the time I went out, I think the paperwork said I was in there for about 14 minutes.
Did you see any violence on the inside?
No. The
So the inside, from the videos I've seen,
the
it
worst
looks
thing that
like
I seen go on the inside
tourists.
The worst thing that I seen go on the inside is, like, when you walk through the rotundas, there was red ropes on each side. Some kid was walking in front of me, and he was knocking over the red ropes. And I was
Whoa.
walking behind him, and I was picking them back up. I was like, "Yo, these are our ropes. Don't knock these over. This is our house. Don't," you know what I mean? Like, and I remember yelling at people, "Don't vandalize nothing. Don't break nothing. This is the people's house. This doesn't belong to nobody but us." You know what I mean? That's the people's house.
Were you arrested that day?
No.
When were you arrested?
5 months later.
How did they know it was you?
They claim that I bragged at the dentist. Like, like I'm telling you guys now what happened there. I told a lot of people what happened there that day. I mean, like, people should know what happened there that day, and people should know it wasn't. It certainly wasn't an insurrection. As a matter of fact,
No,
to this date, nobody's been charged with insurrection.
it's because it
Not that I
wasn't one.
know of.
It wasn't one.
I mean,
It was a
at worst, it was maybe a riot with a
yeah,
handful of looters.
yeah.
I think Putin said it the best when it all went down. He said that's not an insurrection. That was nothing more than a riot with a handful of looters, that's literally what it was, because there was some people who took some things that didn't belong to them that day.
Where were you arrested?
4 o'clock in the morning, the FBI kicked in 2 unlocked doors, brought 2 helicopters, a tank truck with 6 wheels and a turret. 5 state troopers, 4 Erie County sheriffs, and a 7-man SWAT team kicked in my door and put AR-15s in my face, pulled me out of there. They had 2 drones flying into my house as the doors opened.
And when you say in your face, where were you sleeping?
They started shooting flashbangs at the windows at my house at 4 o'clock in the morning and came over a loudspeaker yelling, "This is the FBI. We are here for Dan, just Dan." No, they were here for Dan Warmus. That's my last name. And come out with your hands up.
Okay.
We have arrest warrant for Dan Morrison. They're on a loudspeaker. There's lights. You can hear the helicopters above. I mean, they were coming after me like I was El Chapo. You know what I mean? Like I was some kind of vicious person.
And what's the
And
charge?
4 misdemeanors.
And what were they, if you don't mind?
I don't know the exact thing. So one was obviously trespassing. One was
Were you asked to leave?
the Capitol. No,
And they
no,
let you in.
never asked to leave.
And they let you in.
They definitely held the doors open and let the people
Okay.
in.
So trespassing, what else?
So there's trespassing, impeding official proceeding. I'm sure it has a more elegant term or the actual right. So like they were inaugurating or counting the votes or whatever, or certifying the election on the 6th, impeding that there.
Wow.
Um, the count. And then the other one, there was a misdemeanor just because Mike Pence himself was in the building. What was that, 3 I told you?
Yeah. So what if he was in the building? What's that have to do with anything?
Just because he's there, it's an extra misdemeanor. Important person? I don't know.
So, and what's the fourth one?
I really can't remember.
Did you go to court for this stuff?
It was all taken care of through Zoom meetings. That first day they arrested me. They arraigned me in the court here in Buffalo and put me on pretrial probation.
Okay.
So I was on pretrial probation. I was picked up at 4 o'clock in the morning. By 1 o'clock, I was out of the courthouse. I was free to go, but not really free to go because when they searched my house, they found 3 magazines that held more than 10 bullets. In New York State, that's a SAFE Act violation. That's 3 violent felonies they charged me with.
Whoa. For having magazines with more than 10 rounds?
Right. So then
Were
it
those in
just
plain view?
no, they had to search the house. As a matter of fact, I thought I got rid of them, and I had no idea where they found them. They said they found them in a hunting bag somewhere. Apparently, I did keep them. Um, but
So
here
you can't have 30-round magazines in New York?
In New York State, you can't have 30-round magazines, and you can't have a rifle with a forward grip and a detachable magazine. There's all sorts of regulations on AR-15
Hey, man,
rifles, and
come to Florida.
yeah, believe me, as soon as I'm done with probation, I'm probably gonna move out of New York, hit the road. I might change my name from Auditing Erie County to Auditing Every County because I'm gonna hit them all.
Good.
I'm gonna go across the country.
Um, why so much show of force? You don't have any violent past incidents, do you?
I mean, 2 helicopters
Why?
for misdemeanors. They had a
Why?
maximum
Why
of
such a show of force?
the show of force was a maximum of $1,000 fine and 1 year in prison. That's
So
the
why
most.
so
If
much
they
show of
threw
force?
the book at me, that's all they could have did.
Okay, so a ridiculous amount of force for a non-violent person.
They wanted to make a. They wanted. Listen,
Was there news there?
let me. No news cameras, but let me put it like this. All right, if you were to, you know, rob a place at gunpoint and leave, and they showed that kind of force, that would be warranted, probably, right? You robbed
Yeah, because
something,
you did
right?
you committed a
But
crime with a weapon.
you know what's worse than that? It's sacking the high horse.
Say again?
It's sacking the high horse. You know what I mean? Like these were the Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers of the world and these senators. That's their high horse, man. That's their building. That's not the people's building in their
Oh,
mind.
I
Meaning
see.
they wanted to make an example to make sure nobody ever thought about this again. They wanted to, they wanted to bust my doors open. They wanted me to make the wrong move so they could
Make an
shoot
example
me.
out of you.
Anything. They want to make that example out of that, and they sure did it. I mean, like, I remember them telling me to come to the door and unlock the door, and I walked to the door, and then when I unlocked the deadbolt, they whacked the door open and slammed my hand, and then I'm just like, "Yo, my hands up!" And they got AR-15s in my face, and they're like, "Put your hands behind your back." I'm like, "I'm not putting my hands behind my back. You guys are gonna shoot me." I
Mhm.
said, "Can I at least turn around, then put my hands behind my back?"
Mhm.
And they allowed me to do that. So then I turned around and put my hands behind my back. But like it's like they wanted me to reach so that they could shoot me. It was insane. It was the show of force was just unbelievable.
That's insane.
And the
It's like
craziest
you
thing is,
said,
so I got arraigned in the federal court. Then they sent me to the state trooper barracks, and the state troopers arraigned me there. And they wanted to put a $50,000 bond or $50,000 bond and hold me in there. My attorneys, I have really good attorneys, and we'll say that anybody who wants to be an auditor, if you don't have good attorneys, you probably shouldn't start. Honestly,
Yeah,
like
I'm
you're
starting to
you're
agree with you.
really putting your life on danger. I seen New York audits. He was talking about using a public defender. I mean, you might as well pack your toothbrush if you don't have a good attorney that you trust. But so after I was arraigned from there, I went to a holding center, the Erie County Holding Center. I went to the holding center, and then someone got my bail, and they went to release me, but the troopers put something on the paperwork funny that they wrote that I have pending charges in federal court. So now I was supposed to be released at I think it was 10 o'clock by this time. And because the state troopers wrote that on the paperwork, even though that I was arraigned and released already, they wrote that I had pending charges. They were going to make me wait till the morning. But the bail bondsman that my buddy hired to get me out threatened him with a lawsuit if I don't get out right now. So I think I got out at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I walked out, shook because, I'm not a criminal. I don't never really been to jail or prison.
That
I
was
don't
your
have
first
a criminal
arrest?
record. Still to this day, I don't have no felonies on my record.
Was that your first arrest?
I was arrested when I was younger I left the workplace and I stole the scanner. I threw a scanner in my toolbox and when I left and I quit on them and I tried selling it and got caught by the person tried to sell it to,
How
turned me
many
in. So
decades ago was that?
I had a misdemeanor on my record, but I never did jail time. I did probation back then. And past that, that was enough. I think at age 18 or 19, I walked a straight line. I was never
It
going
was a
back to
wake
a
up call.
jail. It was, I think I spent 2 days in a holding center at that point, and I was never going back. So I was a pretty law-abiding citizen all my life. So I don't really have any run-ins with the law. I don't have no long criminal history. A lot of people be like, "Oh, what did the police do to you to make you get into auditing?" But honestly, they didn't do anything to me.
It's
I
what they're
just wanted
doing to everybody else.
I wanted to know, and um, a lot of people hear me call it the Erie County fam, so they know I watched Bay Area Transparency at some point. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be an auditor today. He made it look too fun and interesting, so I
He's
figured
great.
it was going to get big. So I'd give my area a good auditor who was honest, who would do the right thing and do it with integrity and give the area a good auditor. So when all their auditors came in and try to bait people and start confrontations, I could put them out of business pretty much by
Right.
be doing it professional, because I think it's very important. And I think that even in this Lockport case, to stay professional, if like my attorney said, he said when the news ran my story here, Channel 4 and 2, he said that in his entire life he's never seen the news take the story of the charged person and not the government.
Right.
And they did, and the only reason is because I keep it respectful. I keep it honest. I keep it respectful, and even if the news organization can respect me, I'm winning. Versus, if the news ran that story and they didn't like me, how much further behind would I be?
Even when they do object objective reports on auditors, they're always throwing in buzzwords, and they'll say things like First Amendment aside. No, First Amendment front and center. It's the whole point. It's the
Yeah,
whole point.
I got some real good news coverage from both news organizations. Like the worst thing Channel 4 does to me is they say so-called First Amendment auditor. Let's
Yeah,
say it
what?
like that. Recently they called me a so-called First Amendment um, accountability First Amendment auditor, because in the interview I told them I think there are two different types of auditors out there. I think there's accountability auditors out there, and I think there's entertainment auditors out there. I think the entertainment auditors don't care about the accountability; they just want the clout. They want to walk around in them track suits. They want to be famous in that. And then there's other people who are out there who are making revisits. They're filing them lawsuits. They're filing them public records, holding the government accountable and doing the right thing.
I agree. I think there's more than two.
Yeah, there's
As
probably
you
more
said,
than two categories.
yeah, entertainment, accountability, and there's some gray area between those two.
Yeah,
So
I
And
mean, there's
again,
people who like to stand out in front of private businesses and just, I mean, yeah, I guess they have the First Amendment right to do it, but like, what is, like a private business, if the private business screws people, people just stop using their service and they go out of business. If
the
the
only thing
government
I, I
screws
the
people,
only thing I
they
like
take
the
your
only thing
money
I
and
like
they
about
force you to use their service.
right. The only thing I like about when they audit private businesses is you understand why the cops are the way they are is because the Americans are that way too.
I mean, there's education involved in some of them.
Yeah, and then there's
You'll
some
never
who
catch me
instigate.
out in front of a private business just waiting for, I mean, the worst you ever seen me of a private business is out front of the migrant hotel, but I think anybody in this planet can see why that would be a public interest.
That's still government stuff though going on there.
I mean, they have the
And
National Guard guarding migrants.
yeah, that's weird. And I think we should all focus on the police and getting rid of all these uh qualified immunity and the Terry versus Ohio and all that stuff needs to be repealed and all that stuff and that needs to go by first first thing. Then start educating the Americans, you know. First, let's get this police problem under control and then go from there. Because everywhere you
Even
go
just
to government
government
now, it's
workers as well, like these government
who?
workers, they think they own the building, they think they own you, they think that you should kiss their boots when you walk in. I mean, they're like, employee conduct checks in public buildings. I think it's important that
Yes,
people be humbled as well.
they do not see themselves as public servants, not one bit. And they all say the same stupidities. I don't give you my permission to record me. This is a private property.
Did
You're
you
on
ever
our property if you're on the easement.
did you ever see the one I did in Onondaga? Yeah, Onondaga County, county building. There was a dude, straight face, told me that the 14th Amendment copyrights his face, and he'll sue me. The 14th Amendment copyrights his face. It's probably one of the most dumbest things I ever heard. He's like, you should look it up. He's like, there's case law on it. I'm like, really? He copyrights my face, huh?
So now let's go to the story that Lackluster covered. How did that first start? Let's do that, and then because we're running almost an hour, this is going by pretty quick, and it's good conversation, but
A lot of
I don't
interesting
want to
stuff.
drag on forever. So let's start with this story that Lackluster covered. Do this whole story, and we'll be done. We'll plug your channel, and we'll have a night of it.
So
So,
all right, so January 3+3, I'll get subpoenaed for their docked for the channel, whatever. But I actually did 45 days in prison for that.
for the January 6th thing.
Correct. And the reason I did 45 days in prison is because when I did an audit at Erie, Pennsylvania, they wrote on the paperwork that I broke into a police car.
Who wrote that?
The Erie, Pennsylvania Police Department wrote that on paperwork that I broke into a police car and was detained for it.
This was
So
after J6?
this is after J6. This is that's another point I want to make out. My entire channel started after that. I have been on probation my entire channel.
Oh,
I have
when was
never
J6?
I
What
have
year
been
was
on
J6?
probation my entire channel. Like I've never not been on probation while out auditing.
What
Like
year was J6? 2020 or 2021?
2021, January 6th of
Oh,
2021.
so you started your channel after that. Why do I feel like you've been doing this forever? Probably because you're so good at it. So you've been on probation since the inception of your channel. You went to Erie, Pennsylvania. Why is that close to Erie, New York?
Erie, Pennsylvania is a city. It's actually in Erie County, Pennsylvania as well. From my house, it's probably about a 2-hour drive.
Same here. When I went to Cleveland, I had a girlfriend who lived in Erie, and I drove 2 hours to see her.
So
So
what I did is I just walked around the police cars, took pictures of the police cars, put my phone right up to the police car windows, looking inside of them. Walked around. They freaked out. They tried to do a setup where one of the lady cops said there was fingerprints on her personal vehicle, and her probable cause for locking me up was, I think it's him, because he was in the parking lot. So like the probable cause that they will use in Erie, Pennsylvania is if you're walking down the street near a car that they found a fingerprint on, obviously is yours, and they can detain you and throw you in a jail cell. So
So
that's
you
what
were
they did.
arrested for? Your arrest was for?
They arrested me. Well, if you ask them, they didn't arrest me. They just detained me for 53 minutes. They booked me, took all my property, put me in a jail cell for 53 minutes. Then they released me.
And why did they release you?
Probably because they realized who I was. Well, that's the other thing that I think is a big plus. Like, I'm on federal probation, so I'm not on a state probation. And these places, they realized that, if I was on a state probation, they would be able to talk to the state probation people and make deals and do back work and work together. But the federal government's a lot more professional than that. And when they first grabbed me up, they handcuffed me, they took me in, and I was laughing at them, like, what are you locking me up for? Did you do your investigation? Like, I wasn't even on that side of the parking lot where this lady's claiming. I said, you guys got security cameras. Well, when I work on record off my cell phone, I go from my lock screen, I click the side button twice, I can access my camera. Once you could delete that footage that you took, but you can't empty the trash. You can't, like, you can't access the phone without the security code. So there's no way that they could delete the video. Well, when they took me in the back room, they were going through my wallet and they pulled out a federal probation card. And he's looking at it and he's looking at it strange, like, what is this? And he's looking at it, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's federal probation, huh? You guys are going to deal with the feds right away on this one. They're going to be investigating what's going on here with this. And they know what's up. They know what I do. And so I think that because I was on federal probation and they realized that they're going to get federal attention immediately if they actually went through with the charges, I think that's why they released me.
And the charge was what? That you went in someone's car?
Well, they told me they were going to charge me with disorderly conduct, impeding law enforcement or something like that, and trespassing for being in the public parking lot where the police cars were. So
after 53 minutes, they realize how stupid they are.
Yeah, they realize how stupid they are. Then they come in, they're like, all right, it's time to go. I'm like, well, where am I going? Am I going to get arraigned in front of a judge? Am I going to a holding center? What's up? He's like, oh, no, we're releasing you. We checked the footage and it wasn't you. I'm like, oh, now you guys did your investigation after you detained me and after you threw me in jail and after
they
you arrested me. And
after they kidnap you,
I'm not under arrest anymore. He's like, oh, you were never under arrest. Oh, no, they said I was under arrest. I said, you guys booked me. You took my property. It's, you know what I mean? So, like, they took me back to that area, took the handcuffs off me, took me back to this area. And as soon as I got the handcuffs off and as soon as I got my property, I flipped my phone back on. And you can watch the video to this day. It's on the channel and you can watch it. And it's funny because I'm at the 53-minute marker and they want me out of the police department. They want me out of there they want me out. They're pushing me out of the police station and I'm holding onto the walls and I'm putting my arms out. I'm jamming myself up. So they're pushing me out. I'm like,
why?
Whoa, where are we going? I thought we were friends. You guys just invited me in. Why do you want me to leave so soon? I'm trying to get over the hour marker so I can sue them. And they want me out before the hour marks. And they're like, you sign here that you got your property back. I'm like, I want a copy of this. You're like, you ain't getting a copy of this. And the one sergeant's like, I'll sign it. Give it to me. And that guy signed the paperwork. They gave me my property back and they're pushing me out. And I'm holding on to the door jams and I'm holding on to shit, trying to stay in there. And I'm video recording while I'm doing it, laughing at him. I'm like, oh. And he's pushing me out. And I'm talking to the guy. I'm like, you don't think that was illegal detention and totally unnecessary? And he's like, I'm not talking to you. But they eventually pushed me out and they were trying to tell me that it was, restricted access property and they were pressing these charges. Now I'm standing back in the area where they pushed me out and the garage door is going down and I'm sitting there video recording. I'm like, so is this restricted access or not? And the door's going lower and lower and I'm creeping down, yelling into the police station. And it was a total joke and mess. But they wrote on that police report. So now there's two things that affected on my YouTube channel is number one, it caught me 45 days in prison because I have a YouTube channel where I break into police cars, but I've never been arrested. I don't know how a judge, thought that. And the other thing that this affected.
Hold on. What's the relevance of an hour, first of all? Being there an hour.
I think once you're detained over an hour, and I think that it holds them liable for, they have to do certain paperwork.
Okay, now what did you say about you have a YouTube channel where you break into police cars? Say that again, please.
That's what they wrote on my pre-sentencing report. So when the DC judge sentenced me, he read that I have a YouTube channel where I break into police cars.
When the DC
Washington, D.C.
You were in court in D.C.?
I was in a Zoom meeting in a chair next to my attorney in Amherst in his office in front of a DC judge because I got sentenced and all that, and a DC judge in Washington
And he sentenced you to 45 days?
in prison. He said my part in January 6th was minimal and I wasn't going to get jail time. But since I have a YouTube channel where I break into police cars and continue to do the exact same thing as J6. So a First Amendment audit is the exact same thing as J6, and they sentenced me to 45 days in prison, 2 years of probation, so I still have 14 months of probation left. And I cannot, part of my probation in this 2 years that I'm out, and I've already got 10 months of the 24 months done. Part of the probation is I cannot step foot on law enforcement property. So I can't go to police stations. If I got jumped and I needed to go to a police station to file a police report, it'd be a violation of probation. They'd throw me in prison again.
So you said the judge from DC said since you have a YouTube channel where you break into cars?
He said that I didn't deserve jail time. I wasn't going to get jail time, but since I have a YouTube channel where I break into police cars and do the exact same thing as January 6th, I haven't learned my lesson, and he has no choice but to sentence me to 45 days in prison.
And where do you get that info?
From the pre-sentencing report written by Hannah Fields in Pennsylvania. She's the federal probation officer in Pennsylvania.
So did she not slander or libel you right there? So why does he believe that? So has he seen anything? Okay, did your lawyer object?
My lawyer tried to object.
Yeah.
But they weren't hearing nothing. They just, their minds were made up.
Their mind was made up. So how was 45 days in federal prison? What was that like?
We could go on. We can make this 3 hours long and talk about that. But
give me like the Cliff
federal
Notes
prison. So where they sent me a federal prison, they sent me to an Elkton prison in Lisbon, Ohio. It was 2,000 inmates, 95% child molesters and child rapists and clickers, child pornography. And that's where they sent me. I was the only person in the prison on a misdemeanor charge.
How was that?
See, the prison itself wasn't bad. The people there were creepy, but they wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't dangerous. It wasn't.
You mean the inmates or the people working?
The people working were the problem.
Were or were not?
Were the problem.
Why?
They just constantly fuck with people. Constantly screw with people. They play games with people. They just mess with them. They'll tell you one thing, do another thing, and you can't trust them. You got to watch your back. They'll, you know what I mean? Like,
talking about the prison guards, right?
The prison guards. The prisoners themselves, fine. I could deal with that all day long. You know what I mean? You walk in there and you give everybody the same respect you would normally give somebody. You'll be fine.
So give me one example of some shady stuff that prison guards would do.
When I wanted to be picked up and leave, they said that I had to take a bus. They would drive me to a bus station. I was going to take a bus from Ohio to Buffalo, take a taxi cab to my apartment. And I said, well, my girlfriend dropped me off. I want her to pick me up. And when I said that, the prison guard's like, did I fucking tell you your girlfriend can fucking pick you up? And I was like, whoa. She dropped me off. I don't see why she can't pick me up. Did I fucking tell you she can fucking pick you up? And
like he owns you.
And it's like, oh, all right, I won't ask again. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, what would it take? I'm talking to somebody. I'm like, what would it take to have her pick me up? And like, well, you're only here for 45 days. It would take 3 months for them to do a background check. And by the time that's done, she would have to have a background check that takes 3 months for them to do a background check. Then she could visit. Like, you can't get visitors unless they have a background check to come to the prison. Someone with a felony couldn't come to the prison to visit you. They would have to go through a background check, and they say all these things. Like inmates later would be like, "Well, isn't she on your pre-sentencing report?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's my girlfriend. She was on the pre-sentencing report." She's like, "Whoa, they already did her background check. Go tell them." I'm like, "Oh, I'm not going to talk to these people again."
Yeah, now you're scared to even ask to use the bathroom, right?
Right, and
after that,
I mean, like there was things like when I first got there, they put you in solitary confinement in one cell that was by yourself. They called it quarantining you for COVID. You literally sat in that one cell by yourself for 7 days straight. No time you ever did you get out. The guards that walked by would screw with you. Like, you'd walk up and you see what guard walking by and ask him what time it was. He'd be like, "What? I can't hear you. What?" And you'd be like, "What time is it?" He's like, "Speak up. I can't hear you." He's like, "What time is it?" And he'd laugh and just turn around and walk away. Just stupid shit like that. It's like, oh, he's fucking with me.
So how bad was solitary confinement?
It was crazy because the
It was,
lights never went off in the cell. You
oh,
never knew if it was day, night, nothing. It was just like total torture.
so it was
And
really, so
the only
there's
way you
nobody
knew what
knows.
time it was is that they brought you food at a certain time. You can just assume that lunch came at this hour, dinner came at this hour, and so like even like nighttime, like you want to go to sleep, you're sleeping with the lights on, and it's like wrapping a towel around your head to get some darkness so you could sleep. And one of the things that happened when I was in the called the SHU, the special housing unit, I must have been just stressed out or whatever, and like gritting my teeth and like gritting my jaw the whole time. And I got like lockjaw, so every time I opened my jaw, my mouth, my jaw would click. And when I first got out, I went to the doctors because you had to go for a physical. It's just part of what they do. And I seen the doctor. I knew who he was. Then all of a sudden, you're back in there. They called me to go to the dentist, and everybody's like, "Well, why do you got to go to the dentist? You're not even here long enough to even qualify for dentist work." Well, they still have to take X-rays of your teeth and do all this crap. Well, I went down to the dentist and I asked the dentist about, what what's up with the jaw? What can I do about that? Is it, I'm kind of concerned every time I open my jaw, it's clicking now. It never happened before, and the dentist is like, "I'm not fucking here for that. You're not here for fucking your jaw. I'm here to take X-rays and that's it. You got a problem with that? You put in for a request and you come down here, and so I get paid to look at that." I'm like, "Oh, yeah."
So everyone's an asshole in there that works there.
Everyone is an asshole who works there, except for the chaplain. The chaplain was not an asshole, and he had a little more, compassion. But I'm not gonna say every guard was an asshole,
Hmm.
because there was a point when there was a few guards there that were, treated people like human beings. So when I was in there, and I was sitting in the hallway, and I seen the doctor that the dentist told me it's probably a question for the doctor anyways. Well, there was a doctor walking through the hall, and I said, "Can I ask you a question?" He's like, "I'm not," the one guy who wasn't my doctor. He's like, "I'm not your doctor. You sit down and shut the fuck up and don't ask questions unless you're fucking asked to ask questions." It's just like, okay, you're the doctor, and I got a problem, and I got a question, and you want to answer the question. He's like, "I'm not your doctor anyway." So he walked away. Then I seen the guy that I knew was my doctor because I seen him for the physical, and I said, "Doc, can I ask you a question?" He said, "Yeah, sure." And I said, "Ever since I've been," and this other guy that just reamed me out come out, he's like, "I fucking told you to shut the fuck up and sit down. You don't fucking bother this guy and ask questions." And I'm just like, "Oh, okay. I'm gonna sit down and shut up. I'm not gonna ask questions anymore. I learned my lesson about asking questions about my health to the doctor without filling out a proper form or whatever it is." So, I sat down, and then I watched the two doctors go in the back room, and they're just sitting there kicking it, doing nothing. Like, he couldn't answer a damn question or say nothing. And I go back to the unit, and like I'm saying, if I was dying of a heart attack, if I was having cardiac arrest on the floor in the prison, I wouldn't ask to go to the doctors. I'd take death over that.
Did how big was the solitary confinement cell?
It was probably 5 feet wide by maybe 10 feet long.
And what was in there? A cot and a toilet?
A cot, a toilet, and a shower with cold water.
Now, what'd you do for 7 days? Was there books?
I did read. I read two books, children's books about flying kids.
Also,
That was all I
what else?
had.
What
I
else was in
doodled.
there?
I doodled on a pad of paper. I wrote
What
a
else
lot of
was in there?
letters. I wrote a lot of letters to the girlfriend. Like, I think I wrote a letter a day, like a 3-page letter a day, just to pass time.
Did she?
Which made all the inmates in there like weary that I was writing to people about things that they were doing in there, and was like, everybody's paranoid as fuck in there.
Could you see any but other inmates from that solitary?
Halfway through the solitary, they threw somebody in the cell with me. So I had an older man with me that was there for stealing something or
Did
tax
that help
evasion.
time go by?
Kinda, because you got to talk to him, but I mean, he just read books, and I just read books the whole time. So I mean, maybe a little more, but it wasn't like like all of a
How
sudden
about the rest?
sleeping got harder because he snored a lot.
When you got out of solitary, where'd you go then?
Then you went to the general housing, which the jail cells weren't really cells. It was like a gymnasium bricked off and cubicles that were about 5 feet tall, bricks. So there was a bunk bed, two people per unit, and then there was no door to the unit. You could wake up in the middle of the night and walk around the whole place. Um, the doors were locked; you couldn't get outside.
That doesn't sound safe.
I mean, if it was a dangerous place, you could definitely get in some trouble there. But like
Why wasn't it dangerous? What's stopping someone from just getting up and kicking you in the head or something, or punching you or elbowing you?
nothing if you said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing or pissed someone off.
Was there any spats or fights while you were there?
I didn't see any fights while I was there.
So it was mostly calm.
Well, see, here's the thing: is the chomos, as they were called in there. Like you couldn't call that to them to their face because they get offended and like as if they should have a choice. But you know, but the chomos had a 5 year minimum on it. So if you slap the chomo around, you got a 5 year sentence.
Oh, so
So
if you
there,
slap anybody, you basically do 5 years more,
no,
five
if
more.
you got in a fight with someone who is there, you'd probably get a one shot. You'd probably be in a week in the shoe. If you got in a fight with a normal person, and if you slapped the shit out of a chomo, you would have to go before the court. And if they figured out that if you in any way knew that they were, and it was about that, you get a 5 year minimum sentence.
Why are they protected?
Because in a normal prison, they'd end up dead. So the federal prison protects them. I mean, the whole prison was pretty much a child molester prison.
Sheesh, man. Sheesh. Okay.
And the only reason I did it is because my YouTube channel. They sentenced me for J6 for that.
For your YouTube channel, which was lied about by a
Right,
federal probation officer,
right.
and where does she get that information?
From the Erie, Pennsylvania Police Department. And Rochester City Hall threw a fit about it too.
And they made that up.
I mean, they made up I mean, if you watch the video, and I got a video out on it showing like I got the security camera footage from the place, I got all their body cameras from the exterior, and I showed the whole setup and show like everything about it where they the fix was in. I mean, the whole thing was a fix where they planned that out where they're going to say there's fingerprints, they're going to arrest me,
Conspiracy.
slap the charges down. And if I was on federal probation, I'd probably be charged there, found guilty. You know what I mean? Like it was corruption. I ain't no hurry to go back to Pennsylvania. That's a tough cookie. Anybody auditing in Pennsylvania, it's probably a gold mine for content, but that is one dangerous place because they back that blue like you never believe.
When I first started my channel, I did a story about the Pennsylvania State Police where they literally almost beat this kid to death on the side of the road because he had some mental issue, didn't realize they were trying to stop him, so he slowed down to like 15 miles an hour. And when they finally got him, they beat him half to death. When they put him in front of a judge, it was a camera. And as soon as he said, "Judge, help me," they cut the stream and started beating him again. Take him to the hospital. Hospital's like, "This kid's beaten way too much for we're not even going to take him. You beat him so bad." Anyway, I get what you're saying about Pennsylvania. Plus, you got Lincoln Square Leonidas, who was stabbed by some government crony, and somehow he got in trouble for it. So PA, yes. I think New York and a lot of them states out there are rough, dude. They're really rough. Um, so okay, you did your 45 days. You get out of jail.
2 days out of jail, I did a First Amendment audit. I was back at it, fam.
Where?
I did it and this is part of the video that Lackluster did. I did it in the Erie County Wrath building where I ran into the county attorney,
Uh-huh.
who I did a full request to find out who's paying for the Erie County sheriffs to work the Bills games. Is it the
Yeah.
taxpayers or is it is the stadium kicking in? Because there's a lot of guys standing around doing nothing. Helicopters flying around. They got
Why are the Bills games
SWAT
so
teams.
protected? I don't believe that are
I mean, a
like
mass shooting could happen or something like that. So they got SWAT there. They got so many sheriffs. It's
I
all in
don't think
overtime.
that's NFL policy though.
I mean, here in Buffalo, it's different because everybody tailgates as well. Like tailgating probably isn't as big. I don't know how many Bills or how many NFL teams are tailgaters. Like they have tailgates, but like say the
Cleveland
game
does.
here, the game starts at 1 o'clock. There's
Yeah.
people parked there from 7 in the morning, drinking, partying, grilling, setting up tables behind their thing, and having a good old time. And I own an auto repair shop near the stadium, so I have a parking lot where I park cars, and I set tailgating up. So I'm always down there messing with the cops down there and keeping them in line myself when I'm down there.
And so, and you run a full-time mechanic garage?
I own an auto repair shop. That's what I do for a living.
That's what you do?
Main
You fix
time, yeah.
cars?
I fix cars. I can fix anything.
How many employees you got?
It's just me and a cat that works there.
You and a cat.
Me and a cat.
You do the paperwork too?
Squirrel. I do paperwork. I do the taxes. I do the work. I do the estimates. I do everything there.
Where do you find all this energy, dude? Are you a vegan or something?
I'm definitely no vegan.
Are you a healthy eater? You pay attention to what you eat and all that stuff?
Oh yeah.
Okay. No wonder I never have energy.
Let me show you that I'm not a vegan here real quick.
Go ahead. What's that mean, bro? You eat deer?
Oh yeah. The original fast food right there.
That's pretty funny. You killed all those?
I shot every single one of those with the bow and arrow.
Oh, really? With your probation now, are you allowed to have firearms?
Hell no, I haven't hunted in 4 damn years.
Huh?
I haven't gone hunting in 4 years.
So what'd you do with your firearms?
My father has possession of them right now.
Okay.
The state confiscated all 9 of my guns where I eventually got them back because I told him I wasn't taking no plea bargain until my guns returned back over to me. So my dad ended up taking custody of them. So as soon as I'm off probation, I could just go pick them all up. Back to normal. I'm not a felon. I have no reason I can't get them anymore.
Is your court stuff over with now when the probation is done?
Court's over with. Probation, like I said, I got 14 more months on it. Probation, man. I asked my probation officer, I was on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the easiest guy you got going and 1 being the worst guy you ever want to deal with. How do I fit in there? He goes, yeah, you're a really unique case, Dan. He goes, you are really easy to talk to. I don't have to worry about failing drug tests. I don't have to worry about you breaking the law or doing stupid stuff or, out gallivanting. But he goes, damn, there's a lot of paperwork involved with you. I go, what do you mean? He goes, every time you have police contact, I have to do a report on it. And you have police contact 3 to 5 times a week.
No, when you say you were auditing and you met the county attorney, was that the day where
the 17th? So I got out on the 15th. On the 17th, I audited the Raft building to do that FOIA request, and I walked through the building. They try to throw me out. The county attorney is a real tool down here.
Hold on, is that the one where
he was
freaking out because you wrote Dan Erie County on the sign-in?
No, that's Wyoming County.
Okay, is it the one where you went in, you had a piece of paper, and you asked them to make you a copy? He's like, "We're not Kinkos. We're not going to make you."
That's the D-bag you're talking about. We're talking about, yeah.
That's that audit, right?
Yeah.
So his ego got the best of him. He wouldn't identify. You asked him a simple question, and right away it was, do I have to get security? Instead of answering simple questions, because government's not there to answer your questions. You're there to lick their boots.
Right. So
okay.
the thing about that, and the best thing about that we'll get into, is that when I left there and they called the security came up, they told me it was time to leave. I'm like, I'm not leaving. They're like, all right, we're going to call the sheriffs. They call the sheriffs. The guy gets on the phone. He's like, and he's on the phone with the sheriff. He's like, okay. He hands the phone to the other security guard, and she's like, okay, And I'm laughing at him like, the sheriffs ain't coming up here, huh? They don't want no smoke with Mr. Erie County, huh? So the sheriffs wouldn't come up and kick me out. They told him to let me do what I was doing. And I eventually, after that audit was over, I posted it, and Mr. Toth got himself redressed for being a D-bag. And he called the Erie County Probation Department and tried to jam me up like that. Found out I wasn't on Erie County probation or state probation at all. They contacted the feds, and they had this idea that the DC judge said that since I do First Amendment audits, they ban me from police department property, so I can't go there. They thought, wow, we can ban this kid from all property, all government property. So they tried to write up the terms on my probation so that I couldn't go to any public buildings. I couldn't video record any public servants. I couldn't video record any public buildings, police cars, or nothing. And I couldn't post anything onto social media or YouTube. And they put that before the judge in the Western District of New York, who's now under my control, or I'm under his control, technically, Judge Villardo. And Villardo told him to kick rocks. That would violate
Thank
his
God.
he said that would violate his First Amendment rights.
Hey, let me time out real quick. Hey, Orange Man Edits. This is going to be your last chance. When Dan's done here, if you have the nuts to come on here and debate me live, we can do that. Otherwise, you're going to get blocked. You challenged me to a debate. I said I'll do the debate with you, and then you started backing out and asking me stupid questions. You can ask me all these questions live when Dan's done. Otherwise, take a hike and go back to Canada where you came from. Sorry, brother. Go ahead.
Oh, I'll join you for that debate.
Okay. You know who that is?
I don't know who it is.
Some Canadian liberal, hardcore
You know
liberal.
who hates the Constitution worse than the United States government?
Canadian government.
Some of the Canadians who don't have the
Oh
United
my
States
God, they're the
Constitution.
worst, dude.
Most
They're
of
the
the trolls
worst.
are from Canada.
I know that what was that one guy's name? See, I
Auditor
never paid
Troll.
any attention to them guys.
I try not
Auditor
to.
Troll and huh?
I try not to.
It's you're really just wasting your own time because what do you think they're gonna say? Oh, we're wrong.
Right.
You're the problem. You exercise your rights. You're the problem. They're hardcore bootlickers. Oh,
But
where'd he go? I'll send you the link there, Orange Man, whenever you're ready. Anyway,
so
so
just to say what about the judge who said that a First Amendment audit, there's a federal judge in the Western District of New York who called me a watchdog for the community and said that a First Amendment audit is a constitutionally protected activity.
of course it is.
So let that sink into everybody. So now between that, me beating the Toth and all them in the federal courts there, and between that, the news media, taking my side on things, I'm becoming a force to reckon with around here. And they
I'm listening.
they don't, like I get respect to the point where the cops don't want to mess or they don't want to mess around because I think it's like I said, like the federal probation gives me a sense of protection. Like these municipalities don't want no smoke with the federal courts, and they know
Yeah, they
there's
don't want to get intertwined with them because they're scared of them too.
so after that,
So didn't that was it county attorney, the one that wouldn't give you the piece of paper? Didn't he also basically coerce the clerks in the office to all make the exact same
no, so
independent?
that is Erie County attorney Jeremy Toth was in that office. Now that was on the 17th of January. On the 14th of February, I went to a labor department in Lockport, New York, which is that's in Niagara County, and Niagara County has Niagara Falls in it, but that's in Niagara County, and that's in Lockport, New York. So I went there. I did a First Amendment audit. They told me I had to leave. They had a policy about they can't film in there, yada yada yada. The police showed up. They told me I had to leave because they wanted me to leave. I told them I wasn't leaving. They can't trespass me because trespassing in public is a secondary crime. You don't have a first crime. They can't trespass me. And
We're doing that all over Florida. Any DMV.
They ended up, the one officer, Mello, had a conversation in the back room for 5 minutes with the lady that was running the place. They came out. They told me they weren't going to remove me. They were going to leave, and they left. And I tried to get them to give me the report number. They wouldn't give me the report number. Told me I can come down to the station and get it. They left. I had a 2-minute conversation over the phone. They gave it to me. And so I went down on the 15th and full requested the body camera footage to find out what the conversation was in the back room. Well, the Lockport clerk took the full 30, 40 days to deny that. I appealed it. So this is on the appeal was the second time I went down there, and I appealed it, and they denied the appeal. So I went to file a lawsuit. And the thing about federal courts was, well, they're not happy you beat them in federal court over banning you from doing First Amendment audits. He says what they're going to do is they're going to find another way to do something to slow you down, to chill the First Amendment auditing. So what they did is they pulled me back in court somewhere in July,
Hmm.
and they made it so that my probation would be violated if I stepped foot on police department property or if I created a misdemeanor or a felony. Well, in July, they added if I did harassment or disorderly conduct, which are violations. They
Which
add,
it's almost those are so vague that almost anything can be construed by a guy with a gun as those two things.
right. So they
Right.
added those two things to try to slow me down and trip me up. And that happened in July. So when I went back to serve the lawsuit, I can't personally sue the lawsuit. So I went down with the process server and I video recorded them serving the lawsuit so I could document the whole thing for educational purposes, of
That
course.
was the lady who was with you.
The girl that was with me,
Yeah.
and she served the lawsuit. I video recorded it. I left. I posted that was on the 18th, the 21st. I posted the video on the 28th. 10 days after the supposed harassment, they all filed police reports that mirror each other with the exact same words in the exact same handwriting, and they all
Oh, the
signed it
same handwriting too.
in the same handwriting.
Wow.
And now there's no body camera footage of the officer who wrote them either, even though it's their policy that they are supposed to
Wow. What
put a
so
body camera on to take police reports.
so what
And
happened with that?
so
So you
they
went in
told
there
me
to serve them a lawsuit
I
and
served
they
them a
claimed that you
lawsuit.
were
They
harassing them.
retaliated with harassment charges, which is it's obviously a retaliation because I've been in the office 4 times. All right, it wasn't until the fourth time that I had that condition they tried to um, do the harassment charges to get my probation violated.
Your
And
federal
my
probation.
federal probation. So the lawsuit, when my attorney Brittany Penberthy went to the so here's the thing in New York, when you do a FOIL request, which is FOIL, Freedom of Information Law, it's a FOIL in New York, and every state, all 50 states have a different name for it. I think there's Sunshine Law
Yep.
in Florida,
Chapter 119. Yep.
and in New York it's FOIL. So a lot of people mock me and say, "Oh, it's FOIL. Learn your stuff." I'm like,
Well,
"Well, Google it."
FOIA is the blanket term for the federal
That
one,
is
isn't
in Massachusetts also. Their state law is called FOIA,
it?
and
Okay.
I think there's a few other like Nevada. I think theirs is also.
And they'll nitpick that stuff.
Oh, people love to nitpick anything they can.
When they don't like you,
Keyboard
they
warriors, you know.
yeah, keyboard cowards with two K's is how I say it. We're speaking of which, somebody disappeared out of the thread. You notice that?
I did see him
Anyway,
pop out of there. So the FOIA request, you could do the FOIA request, you do the appeal, then you do an Article 78. So when I did this Article 78 lawsuit in New York State, you can take them to, we end up in New York State Supreme Court, which is the county courthouse, and they were in Niagara County. So in New
mhm,
York, you can take them to whatever county you want as long as they're in the same judicial district. So
okay,
I took them out of their own county. I took them to Erie County, where we have judges that are probably less biased between
okay.
everything. And we took them in there. And the attorney on the first appearance, they were arguing. My attorney and them were arguing. And my attorney, I wasn't there, but she said that the attorney for, she said, you guys maliciously prosecuting my client for serving a lawsuit. You filed 4 bogus harassment charges. And the guy said to her, well, we're working with federal probation to violate his probation.
Who said this?
This is what the attorney and the Lockport attorney said in the courtroom in the court
So
meeting.
he's admitting to basically conspiracy
Right.
in
The
court
court
in front of a judge.
in front of a judge on a Zoom meeting, so I don't know if it's stenographer to record it or not. So he admitted that in a
And what the
court.
judge did anybody say anything right there?
No. But I called my probation officer and I confronted him about it. He
Yeah.
says, he's not working with nobody. The most he did is they called and asked him for the conditions, and he sent it to him just like he does for anybody or anything. And
So, so you have a different federal probation officer than you did the first one who sent over the bogus information about breaking into cars. You have a different one now.
technically, I've had 4 probation officers in 2 years.
How's the one you have now?
I like him. He's a cool guy. He's easy to talk to. As far as them saying, like Lockport saying, we're working with the federal probation department to violate his probation, I don't think it's true. I think my probation officer is pretty professional. I don't think he's trying to jam himself up in any way where he'd get caught up in anything like that. I think the federal probation department's a lot more professional than you would find in a state or county probation department. or city or whatever. But
Well,
my opinion, like for instance, I did an audit where I went into a probation department, which most people wouldn't consider that police department property, but technically that's a police officer. When I was in court, he probably could have violated me for that. But he said in front of the judge, we're not going to violate him for that. He probably just didn't know that there was a, I mean, and we're just going to warn him. We don't want no action on it. The judge agreed. And so, I mean, like, if they really wanted to jam me up, they could have jammed me up for that. If they really wanted to violate my probation, I'm sure they could have
mhm.
by that. So I mean, like, I think Lockport, by saying we're working with the probation department, is, they think they're working with the probation, the federal probation, but the federal probation is just giving them the information they asked for. And, but
You're
maybe
not,
there's more to it than that, but I don't think they are.
after all this stuff, you're not discouraged from going out there? You're not scared to go out there again?
When I said it on the news, the local news station asked me the same question. They said, "Don't you think that maybe it's time to ease up and stop the activities till the probation's over?" And my opinion is, you know what? When the government wants you to yield to their will, and they want you to stop doing what they don't like, just remember our founding fathers, they didn't yield.
That's true. That's true. But at the same time, are we willing to throw our life away for that?
I
The
am.
founding fathers had backup. A lot of us are like
I mean,
solo.
I got backup. I got 83,000 subscribers.
Yeah, but they're not going to pick up arms with you, man. You know that.
No,
I
they're
got
not going to
quarter
do that.
million.
But
Huh?
no, they're not going to do that. But in my opinion, I'm not going to stop.
Like
I
I don't
I
know if
have
you
a
know, but
federal judge. I have a
I got
federal
arrested.
judge that believes in the First Amendment and he believes in justice, and I think that I have justice on my side legitimately.
I don't know if you know, I got arrested a couple months ago, and that whole experience, and I was only in jail for like 6, 7 hours, dude. And my subscribers got me out. My subscribers helped me with a lawyer. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate you. But I'm discouraged, dude. My mom said stop. My wife's like, you need to slow down, stop. And even myself, I'm like, I don't want to go back to jail.
Let me put it this way: I don't have no kids.
Me neither. But I
I
have a
don't
wife.
have a wife.
Okay.
Me and my girlfriend, we recently split up, so I don't even have that.
Okay.
And you know
How old
what?
are you?
Like I said, I'll be 40 on Christmas.
Oh, you're gonna be 40. That's right.
So I mean, like,
Congrats. Congrats.
I'm not I'm not afraid of, I'm not gonna say prison's the funnest thing in the world, but I'm not afraid of it. I would
I am.
Let me put it this way. When I went through school and I learned about the Holocaust
Hmm.
and I learned about it all, and it was one thing that perplexed me when I was a kid. It was, how in the hell in the world did they round up the Jewish peoples and the neighbors and the friends and the family and the rest of the country didn't revolt to know what was going on? How? But I'm gonna tell you right now, we're watching it happen in Central America, in
Central
Freedom America.
America?
I mean, free America here, like the middle of America here, where we're watching this kind of shit happen, where people are willing to keep their mouth shut for freedom. And let's be honest, them British or them founding fathers, they revolted over a 2% tax.
That's
2%.
right.
How much are you guys at home paying in taxes right now?
At least
60?
40%.
60?
40, at least 40.
I mean, 30 right out of your income, right off
Yeah,
the
and then
top.
on every time you buy something, sales tax and
Here in New York, in Western New York, in Erie County, it's 8%. So there you go. There's 40% right there. Then you got school tax, you got property tax, you got
you guys
gas
have state
tax.
income tax there. You guys have city taxes there.
By the time you're done, man, these people are paying 50, 60% taxes. I mean, these we ain't free. There ain't no free. These are free range slaves.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna
They're
trick
telling you
these
how much
people
of your
into
own money
believing
you
that
get to keep.
they can do whatever they want, and then you see the police getting away with whatever they want. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you what. Nobody is gonna say Dan Warmers did nothing. All right. When police try to get away with whatever they want, Dan Warmers, nobody is gonna say I was caught on the wrong side of history, like those Germans who didn't revolt, who didn't stop those soldiers. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's gonna say that. So should I
And
stop? Would it be
and
easier to stop? Would it be
we
easier to not do what I do? Hell yeah. Am I
we
gonna stop?
especially
Hell no.
we especially have easier than they did too, because everything is on record now. All the abuses, all the everything that goes on, all the corruption. It's all
Remember, they don't
documented.
hide and make accidentally disappear and delete my delete buttons and all that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely easier to pinpoint them. A lot of people say to me, Dan, aren't you afraid that the police are going to mess with you now that you do this? Aren't you afraid? I'm like, honestly, the police, I'm the last person in Western New York police want to smoke with. I'm the last
See,
person. I can expose. I can put them in front of. If somebody wants to, if a cop wants to say something dumb, do something stupid, I'm gonna put them in front of 100,000 people like this. All right, your
yes.
average person can't do that.
Yeah, that happened in
They're
my
gonna take
county too.
advantage of the easy and the weak. They're not willing to go up against Mr. Erie County. I mean, let's be honest. Lockport's in the find out stage of the fuck around.
Right, right,
I'm
right.
gonna smoke them in court.
See, when I got big here in my county, I never thought that. I thought I was going to get messed with nonstop. They won't come near me now.
No. As a matter of fact, when I show up at a police station, next thing you know, there's police out there armor all in the cars, cleaning, wiping down the walls and shit. It's hi, Mr. Warmers, hi, sir, how you doing today? You want my badge number?
Right?
As I walk up, they'd be like, my badge number is 2256. My name is. It's like, oh, I didn't ask.
What do you think the best solution is for our out of control police and government outside of violence, outside of an an uprising, an armed revolt? What's the best peaceful way?
I think that if we could make non-government controlled, non-government paid accountability board, I think that would probably help. Like a board that, like no questions asked. They want the body camera footage. You have to give it to them. It's the board of accountability. I think that these people on this board would have 2, 3, 4 year term limits, period. And I think it would be like like a big city like Buffalo would probably have a board of like maybe like 15 people. And they would, I mean, they'd be able to fire a police officer. They would have that right. They would have the ability to sanction people. I mean, I think that's the only way, and it would have to be non-government run or something like that. I think that would be one start.
And they have to have some teeth.
Right. I mean, like the public records law. These people laugh at us.
Yeah.
When we get public records, but that's another thing about the public records for Lockport that I did. Let me tell you what, I won.
And what happened?
They had to pay my attorney fees. They have to turn everything over.
Okay.
I mean, they
What is it
admitted
that
they
you were
deleted the body
requesting?
camera footage, but they have to write in paperwork that they did it.
What did you request that they didn't want to give you?
The body camera footage of the talk they had in the back room. We'll
So you
never know.
yeah.
We
So
will
did you
never know
finally
what
got
that
that?
officer said to that lady in the back room.
And what did he say?
We'll never know. They deleted the footage. The
Oh,
judge,
wow.
the judge
Isn't that
spanked them.
tampering?
The
Is that
judge,
not tampering?
no, because see, the policies that the Lockport police and most police agencies have is they have to keep body camera footage for X amount of years if there's arrest or something. Well, there was no arrest, there was no crime, there was no nothing. So body camera footage, like, if a cop walks up to a people, turns his body camera footage on, he walks up to someone and nothing really happened. There was no incident, no arrest, no nothing. That stuff gets kept for I think 2 to 3 months, a month to 3 months, and then it goes on auto delete.
But you requested it well before then, right?
That's why the judge spanked them and made them rewrite their, in order to get out of this without sanctioning by the state, the Lockport Police Department had to rewrite their policies that if somebody FOIA requests something, they have to hold that footage now until the whole process is over. And if they ever do it again, they'll really be sanctioned by the state.
No, what kind of sanctions?
I don't even know, like a fine from the state. I mean, I don't know, like enough that they put it in writing. They
Right.
put it in writing. They have to pay my attorney fees. They have to turn over what they do have as far as like the police report and the Axon body camera trail that shows that it was auto deleted by the system and all that. But so like the whole charges now are going to be extra hard for Lockport to go against me because the harassment charge that they filed against me is intent to alarm or annoy with no legitimate purpose. Well, it's going to be extra hard for them to say I had no legitimate purpose if the judge said I
You
had
were
the right
serving
to have
a
it.
lawsuit.
I was serving a lawsuit. Secondly, a legitimate purpose is filming them clerks. That was a legitimate purpose on its own.
They refuse to admit that video recording is legitimate business. They refuse. Every DMV, every government office, every health department, everything everywhere. You don't have legitimate business here. My First Amendment right is legitimate. You don't have legitimate. They just and it's circular and it keeps going. That's when I want to backhand somebody. So let me tell you a couple of my ideas. Like if there's a traffic stop, I think 30 cars and 50 people should stop and go, "Why are you stopping this guy?" So they'll think twice. So they'll think twice before they impede somebody's freedom, and they realize what a serious thing it is to impede somebody's freedom, especially over a blinky light, a tag light, the most stupid, petty things in the world. The parasites have given them the power to literally destroy the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment's dead when you're driving in a car. That's my first thing I think should happen. And the second thing it should be internal affairs is a joke. They need external affairs
Yeah, the
who's
board.
not,
I'm saying.
yeah, like a board, but I want it to be filled with constitutional lawyers. So they're going to look at it and go, that's blatantly unconstitutional on its face. Out of here. Why do you get all this protection? They're literally an armed, violent, corrupt, unlawful gang. And they look at us like scum and they treat us like scum. That's my opinion, man, but I digress.
I don't know if it really can be fixed. Like my best opinion of fixing it is to humiliate these guys on the internet. I'm not taking taxpayer dollars. They learn a lesson
And you're
by
paying
being
taxes.
humiliated on the internet. Like the guy who said, unfortunately, in this country, we
Yeah.
have the First Amendment. I guarantee he's never going to say something dumb like that with his body camera running,
No,
especially.
no. You'll be like, can you believe these mother effers think they got freedom? So you understand, man. First
I mean, I
Amendment.
got people on the inside of the Cheektowaga Police Department. I know some people. I'm kind of friends with one of the officers that are a little higher up in there, and he told me that guy's taking it hard. He's really getting redressed by the people, called un-American and stuff. He said
Of course he's un-American.
call him un-American for saying something like that. I mean, like they say he's taking it hard, and he's not. He's learning a
What?
lesson. So like these people are like, oh, you need to sue. You need to sue. I'm like, what? What are we gonna sue them? Take taxpayers' money? It ain't coming out of their pocket.
Right.
That's
That's another
another thing
thing.
that we would have to do to fix the problem is when you sue, I think these people should have to pay the settlements,
Exactly.
not the taxpayers' dimes. Like it's like this malicious prosecution that they're doing in Lockport right now. Why wouldn't they try it? Why wouldn't they? What do they got to lose? Taxpayers' money? What do they
Right.
care?
It's taxpayers' money.
Right?
Now,
Why in the
you ever
world would
heard?
they care if they get sued after this if they lose? If there's a chance that I might have had a corrupt federal judge who would violate my probation. I'm telling you right now, the worst thing that could happen right now for the city of Lockport is that judge pulls me in, violates my probation, and throws me in jail for 6 months. Because eventually I'm going to beat it, whether it's in the city court, whether it's in the county court or the state court, or it gets peeled up to the federal end. I'm going to beat it. There was no harassment that day. I was doing
No, all this
constitutionally
stuff.
protected activity. I'm going to beat it. So if if a federal judge threw me in prison, it would collapse my auto repair shop. It would, illegal incarceration is like $1,800 a day. I mean, you're going from little damages to $1 million lawsuit, multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the city. I mean, but you know what I mean? Like the worst thing that could happen is the federal judge violates my probation. That
And
would,
then you'd have to do 6 months and you'd be over with.
I mean, who knows? I don't know. Like the federal judge, it would be up to him. I mean, my opinion is, well, it's not even an opinion at this point. The federal judge seen the video. He said no
May
action.
I, may I ask how much cash you've had to cough up through this whole ordeal?
Are we including J6? Or are we talking just this year?
J6, they screwed you. Let's just talk about the auditing, defending yourself, and
Attorney
filing the suit.
fees and auditing, I probably have invested maybe like 15,000 in
I was gonna
attorney
say over
fees.
10 grand,
What?
15,000. You think you're
The
gonna get any of
Wyoming,
that back?
the Wyoming one where they pushed me out of the building with the lady from Up and the sheriff resigned.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to settle that now out of court.
Okay. Okay, so
They
you might come out on the positive side.
they made an offer, but I countered it and told them if they don't like that, we're probably. I mean, I would love to depose that lady who said, you're breaking the law, and she's like, "Good, arrest me." I would love to be in deposition with her and be like, "What did you mean by arrest you? Did you think
Yeah,
you were above the law? Like,
right.
how dumb will this lady look? I mean, she's old. Maybe she'll croak before the I'll never get to depose her, but like the sheriff would be fun to depose.
Oh, I love having them in the box, man. I don't know if
I
you saw
asked the
my last.
sheriff. I asked the sheriff. I said, "Sheriff, you don't think it's a Fourth Amendment violation to ID me to come into this building?" He goes, "No, no, I don't." I looked at him and I said, "Sheriff, you're gonna eat those words." 2 weeks later, he resigned. Ate
How
those
could it
words.
not be? Do they not know what the Fourth Amendment says?
I put a video out today about the state buildings in New York State. They got the state buildings. They're IDing people to come in the building. And I got the guy who's in charge of the building, the general manager out there. I'm like, don't you know this is a violation of the Fourth Amendment? He's like, yeah. I'm like, you
Nah.
don't care? Well, it's for safety. So you ID somebody to come in the building, you get their ID and they walk in. You don't have a metal detector. You don't wand people down. So if I wanted to do ill will and I wanted to put a gun in my pants, all I got to do is show my ID, walk through here, cap as many people as I want. How did that system protect anybody?
It doesn't. It's about
They
getting
don't
you
even
in the
have a metal
system.
detector. How is that safe? Oh, you could track the person down easier after the fact.
It
That's
could
not
be a fake
protecting
ID
anybody.
too.
That's
It
not
could be a
protecting
fake ID.
a fake ID. I mean, the cameras in the building should be able to eyewitness identify somebody with the type of software they have nowadays. I mean,
Dude, with 80s technology, you can keep the building safe pretty much. Metal detectors, wands, good security guards. What else you need?
certainly they're just ID, and the guy's like, "Oh, we scan the ID and we just take the name and the picture." Oh, you
Oh,
scan the ID and the system it ain't taking none of the information. It's not taking down my license number. It's not taking my address. The picture that's scanning my ID just automatically blurs that out to the system. Right. We're supposed to believe that.
not only that, I don't want you having my picture or my name. I don't want you knowing who I am. If you want, show me your ID, like Travis Hines says, and I'll show you mine. All of a sudden, it's like, oh no, you can't see me. You can't see my ID. You can't see where I live. I'm
Turn
a
your
government
law
parasite.
enforcement. You don't need to see it.
You don't need to see ours.
I haven't broke a crime. I haven't met a crime. You don't need to see mine either.
Dude, unless I've done something to someone, damaged somebody's property, or I'm somewhere knowingly I know I'm not supposed to be, you don't get to know who I am. It's called privacy. It's called right to privacy. It's plain as day. It goes back hundreds of years. What don't you understand?
Listen, you're extorting your rights right now.
Exploiting.
You're exploiting your rights right now. According to the police, you don't exploit your rights.
Exploit. So where do you go from here, Dan?
From here, we just keep auditing. I mean, so in order to leave the Western District of New York, I have to fill out paperwork. So the Western District of New York goes pretty much this half of the state that I'm on,
Mm-hmm.
this western side of the New York. In order to leave that area, I have to write the probation, and I have to say where I'm going and what I'm doing. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been filling these forms out, and I got a business trip. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm
Mm-hmm.
heading somewhere on the north or on the eastern side of New York State. So tyrants, look out! We're coming for you. And I continuously fill out these forms, and I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to keep holding these people accountable. I'm going to keep pointing out the flaws in the system. I'm going to keep pointing out what they're doing wrong. Like, IDing people to come in a public building in the name of safety. That's not safety. What are you guys collecting that information for? Because it's certainly not stopping somebody from bringing in a machete, a
They
gun,
want to. They
a pocket
want us
knife.
all on a database.
Like, how many
That's it.
people go in that building? Like, one guy says, it just takes a picture and your name and that's it, and it prints it on a sticker. We don't keep the information. Oh yeah. And then the next guy's telling me, well, it scans it and tells us you're a felon. Oh really? So this guy's gonna admit that he knows if it's a dangerous person by scanning IDs. They're running IDs.
So they're running your record.
Right.
That is an unlawful search and seizure,
It is.
or an unreasonable search and seizure. Lord have mercy. All right, so you're waiting on a settlement for
I got two
the
lawsuits. I got two lawsuits out. I got one in Hamburg, New York, for a police officer I caught outside his limit of the town limit. He was in the next city over, and I walked up on him, parked my car up on
I
the
remember.
sidewalk past that. So I mean, technically, I don't think I earned a parking ticket because I didn't park on the street. I parked up
Right.
on the drive. So
Mm-hmm.
I got to fight that in court. They're trying to prosecute me and find me guilty of a parking ticket right now. I got a trial for a parking ticket.
So nice.
And
Nice.
I got to take it to trial because I think these guys want to throw the book at me. I think they can put me in jail for 15 days for a parking ticket.
What?
And they're so butthurt that they got redress because they took their actions and they blame me that people redress their grievances.
Yeah, it's their own actions. It's their
Well,
own. It's you. It's not us. It's you.
I report
Dummy.
the news. I report what happened. I report
Right.
the interactions, and that's what happens. I mean,
How
like
dare you, bro? Who do you
people
think you
people are
are?
like, why do you put the number for the Lancaster police on the screen? Well, if I don't put the number, I don't want people calling Lancaster, Pennsylvania, or Lancaster, Ohio.
Right.
I don't want these people who didn't do, what they did. I can't not leave their information out there. And the other thing I like to tell people is, I'll tell you what, I got arrested for J6. I got arraigned. I went to my business. I had about 15 voicemails threatening my life.
Of course.
Call me an asshole, call me a piece of shit because the news reported what happened, and they reported they had an auto repair shop in Western New York in Orchard Park, and these people found it. They put negative Google business reviews. They did all the same stuff to me. You know what I never did, John?
What?
I never blamed the news.
Right.
Never
Exactly. It's
blamed the
not the
news.
news at all. It's
I
the
took
idiots who
credit
are
for
doing
what
it.
I did illegal. I shouldn't have went in the building. I shouldn't have fell for the trap. I shouldn't have walked in. I shouldn't have trespassed during an official proceeding. I should have known better to walk in. I made a mistake, and I own up to it. But you know what I didn't do? I
Spur of the
didn't
moment.
blame Channel 4 News. I didn't blame CNN. I didn't blame, all these news companies for reporting the news. I never did that. So I think it's time that these places start, taking credit and taking responsibility for their own actions.
They can't.
No, they're the
They
government.
can't.
They're the government. We're supposed to lick their boots.
They can never admit they're wrong. That I don't understand. That pisses me off to no end because I know you're wrong. I read the law. I'm telling you straight to your face. I could show you right here on my phone. I could show you case law, and you're gonna still sit there, or they'll go completely blank. That's another thing they like to do. Just completely stop talking to you.
So
It's like
I'm just going
you're
to keep holding this
causing this.
government accountable. I'm not going to go
I
on
have
that
a
wrong
good
side of history. That's the only reason. Not happening.
so 14 months more probation. You got 2 lawsuits going. After that, you're free and clear, and you're just going to keep doing the auditing thing and fixing cars, right?
I think once I'm off probation, man, I'm buying that camper van or a camper to pull behind my truck, and I'm going to travel the country.
You're going to close the shop down?
Hell yeah.
You want to
You know how hard it is to go back to busting my knuckles on a car after taking a walk through a public building? You know what I mean? And
yes.
exposing tyrants? It's hard to
What?
go back to that. I mean, I really, truly enjoy auditing. I enjoy doing it to the point where I can discredit the bad ones. I can discredit the bad police. I can, I find that I get respect from news companies and
Good. What
I'm
kind of
not,
girl you looking to meet?
what kind of girl am I looking to meet?
Yeah.
I want to find a girl whose dad's a police officer. No.
A police chief's daughter?
Yeah, I want to find the police chief's daughter. I want to find Lieutenant Brown from the Amherst Police's daughter. I want to date her, so I can go there and be like, "Hey, Mr. Brown." Yeah.
Hey, Dad.
One of my first famous audits where it's in my intro where the Lieutenant Brown is the one who's like, well, you were in a restricted area. Now I need your ID. I'm like, you ain't
You're
getting
not
it.
kidding it.
Right.
Yeah, I
And
love
then
that.
after that, the captain called him in and he went to turn around and walk away. I don't know if you've seen the full video on that. After he went to turn around and walk away, I'm like, that's right. As far as my ID, you can go kick rocks. And he
That's
turns
right.
around and he's looking at me. I'm like, and get back to work. He's just about lost. He's like, have a good day, sir. And he went to turn around and walk away. I'm like, that's right. You're dismissed.
Do you want to give your mechanic shop so that people can go and give you a good review?
I mean, I'm
It's
not
up
going
to
to
you.
I'm not going to do that, not because I don't want the good reviews. I mean, some people who know, but I'm not the person who's out there looking for YouTube people who see me on YouTube to give me a review, because there's plenty
Well,
of trolls
just
that
to
deal with me.
counterbalance the idiots. I mean,
There are those idiots, but honestly, my reviews are people who've been there who appreciate it. I mean, I got a Scott from Florida. He's a auditor who's out there, or someone who watches the channel. He put a review on there, and he said on there, I live in South Florida. Every time I have a car problem, I drive to Orchard Park, New York to have my car fixed. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, okay.
there's some reviews on there like that, but no, I mean, as much as I don't want to, like, I mean, if you go on the troll channels, they dox my auto repair shop constantly. But anybody who
Why do you go
watches
on
my
those
channel,
channels?
what's
Why do
that?
you go on those channels?
Oh, I don't. I mean, like, the only reason I end up on those channels is because I'll be sitting there all of a sudden, my phone I'll get like 3 negative Google business reviews from people
Oh, I
who
see.
call me a frauditor or something like that, and I'll be like, oh, I wonder what frauditor ran it and doxed my business on this, you know. And sometimes I go looking for it, but most of the times I don't. I don't even know all the frauditor channels, but
Dude, I have be having conversations with other auditors, and they start bringing these guys up, and I'm like, who the hell's that?
I
Who the
try
hell's
not to
that?
even mention their name because I don't want anybody to even know who they are.
I don't know their names.
We put food on their table, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they say
They should
we
like
wouldn't we
us.
wouldn't do this for if it wasn't for money. That's one thing. You're doing it. You're feeding off us. Secondly, when people say get a real job, first of all, a successful auditor or internet guy pays way more in taxes than a real job. So you're
Those
detrimental to
people,
your own country by telling someone to pay less in taxes to have a job like you have because you can't get out of your little
I
box.
always say that. I say these people who cry, get a real job, get a job. I'd be like, boy, you'd really cry if you know how much this job paid.
Right.
Sometimes, you
And
know.
dude, the one year when my channel blew up, I think I paid almost $20,000 in taxes. So I've never paid that much in my life in one year. Never. So if it's not a real job, you better thank me because my taxes went to your kid's school and here and there and a bunch of places I don't use. Anyway,
Yeah, I don't really get into how much money I make, or I mean, I guess anybody wants to know what a YouTuber makes, they can Google it and pretty much figure it out pretty
it's like
close.
if
It's
I
in
were to
analytics.
a baseline to me is like every million views is like 10 grand approximately. So you look at somebody's views, a video has 5 million views, that person probably gross probably 40, anywhere from 35 to 50K in my opinion. So go by that and do the math and do the division.
I make more money on YouTube than I do at the auto repair shop.
God bless you.
I mean, don't get
Oh,
me wrong, the auto repair shop makes more money, but it's got a hell of a lot more overhead.
it's got the overhead plus
It's got
all your physical
lights,
plus all your
phone,
labor
gas, electric, I mean,
and your labor
rent.
and your labor.
I mean, that would be the labor. My labor would be the part that, makes me money, but the labor
Dude, you put in a lot of work.
do put in a lot of work.
I guarantee you're there between 40 and 60 hours.
Yeah.
Do you close it at all?
I mean, my shop's gonna be closed for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week because I'm gonna be out auditing somewhere in northeastern New York. Look out, Mr. Erie County's coming to catch you.
Erie County fam. So
Did I tell you when I first started doing audits outside the district of New York, my probation officer was calling ahead, telling them
calling
all these
ahead to
places I was coming. They were all prepared for me. They're like, "Oh, he's here, he's here."
that's not fair.
I mean, if we're looking for natural reactions, it's a loss. If we're
Yeah,
looking for education, it's a huge win. Huge. Because you
I'll
know
give you
what?
that.
It's much more
Pleasant.
it's pleasant because I don't have no problems. Number two, the education is engraved in these public servants' head 10 times harder because they learned it from the federal government. Then the guy showed up, and then they got good reviews from the people for doing good. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like much better education. Now I tease my probation officer. I'm like, I'm going to this building, and this building. Do you want their numbers? He
What'd
stopped
you
calling.
say?
I think he stopped calling ahead when I got to Onondaga and Oneida County because I still had some pretty good interactions there as far as like a employee putting his hands on me and stuff. They're like, even when they put like bulletins through the building. Like I was in Wrath building. I did the Wrath building with that Jeremy Toth tool. I did it in 2 parts where I did like floor 16 through 8 and then 7 through the floor grounds. Well, when I went back the second time, they all got an email on how to handle it. And I really didn't have much problems. But in one office, the lady freaks out and she's like, "Oh, wait a minute. I think I got an email about this." And she said it out loud. I'm like, "Oh, you got an email about this?" She's like,
Mhm.
"Yeah." I'm like, "Can I see it?" She goes, "No." I'm like, "Why not?" She goes, "Because there is no email." I'm like, "What do you mean there is no email?" She goes, I made a mistake. There is no email, and it's just like, I know there's an email. I got the email. I
Lord
got it
have
in the
mercy.
discovery in court when Jeremy took me to federal court. I have the email in discovery. Oh,
Okay, so let's wrap this up, man. Everybody go and subscribe to Auditing Erie County. You see, he's committed. He wants to close down his business. That's how much he's committed. Willing to buy a travel trailer, camper, whatever, and go around the states and do like Long Island audit and like a lot of these other auditors have done Rogue over the years and so on and so forth. So please subscribe to Auditing Erie County. Dan is fantastic. He got caught up in the J6 crap, and a bunch of government parasites conspired against him, but he's suing them and he's winning and he's doing everything the right way. Uh, you're wonderful, dude. I really enjoy everything you put out. I'm
I'll tell
shocked
you
that you've
what,
only been doing it for 2
fam,
years.
come join the Erie County fam, because I'll tell you what, when they mess up, I go there.
Right. Uvalde.
That's me sitting on the Uvalde police vehicle at
Nice.
the Uvalde City Council meeting. And as a New Yorker, I sat in front of that city council meeting and I asked those city councils for accountability. And I asked, what do you guys need? Do you guys need a Yankee to come down here to Texas to teach you guys how to be men again? And that board had to sit
But they
there and
didn't like
take.
that.
Oh, man, they did not like that.
What'd you say? How dare you?
There was a police
Get
officer with a
New
blue
York
line mask.
City.
There was a
Huh?
police officer with a blue line mask and shit. I call him out. I'm like,
Uh,
this chump over here did this, and he's gonna sit here with that disgraceful American
right.
flag on his face, this desecrated flag, and these parents and these kids in this room, and you're gonna sit there and do that? I reamed them out for 5 minutes straight.
Good. I'm surprised they didn't cut you off and have you arrested.
I'll tell you.
Anyway, what else, man? Give me a closing statement here.
Closing statement is I'm never gonna give up. I'm never gonna stop. They can do whatever they want to me. It ain't gonna stop me. I will not yield to what the government wants because I am doing the right thing. If you don't believe me, I don't know what to tell you. You must be a bootlicker.
You are doing the right thing. You're doing the American thing. All
Doing
right,
God's
dude.
work, as some people say.
What?
You're doing God's work, as some people say.
You are doing God's work 100%. And I wish you Godspeed while you're doing God's work. Uh, that's it, man. 2 hours. It went by like nothing. I thank you so much. That's it. Call me anytime. I didn't even realize you had my number.
I think I got it from
Don't matter.
News Now Ninja wanted me to forward
Oh,
your
yeah.
number to
Okay.
a
No
Long
problem.
Island audit about some type of rings that you make.
Yeah. Long Island Audit changed his phone number. I
Yeah,
texted him one
he
day, asked him
posted
if I
his phone number on one of his videos. I'm like, bro, you fucking lit your phone number up on the video. Don't you realize that? He's like, dude, I had to change my phone number. My phone wouldn't even load. I was getting so many text messages.
Yeah, tell him to call me, man. We were supposed to like do a what do you call it? Collaboration with the Freedom Rings, Let Freedom Rings, etc. Blah blah blah. But yeah, thank you, dude.
Yeah, Sean's a good friend of mine. I talk to him on a regular basis, at least once a
Tell him
week.
to get a hold of me, man.
But I'll have him call you.
I'd like to have him on too. So much love, dude.
Absolutely.
I'll watch. I'm sure everyone here is going to keep watching.
Next time I'm in
Sure.
Florida, maybe I'll have to meet up with you in person.
When you start traveling, man, come to Florida, man. I will definitely go out with you.
I mean, what part of Florida are you in?
North of Tampa.
All right, so I like to fly into Orlando
Okay,
and
about an hour from there.
cruise around there. I meet up with Rogue, another good friend of mine.
Yeah, I just saw him a few weeks ago. Him and Wrights. We all went to Wrights Crispy's house. We had a barbecue, and then
Did he talk
went to
about my chicken?
what?
Did he talk about my chicken? I was there for the heck did we have? Friendsgiving. Last
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
you
I
were
was out
at
there
Wright's house
at Wright's house. Yeah,
out
I
in the
cooked
country.
up. We got something here in it's called Chevetta's chicken. It's like a
Mhm.
barbecue sauce. It's kind of vinegary, and I cooked up Chevetta's chicken on his grill at his house. Met his kids,
Sounds
his
good to me.
family. Rogue was there. I met Gio for the first time.
Gio was there, yeah. Gio's the man. Gio just got arrested too, poor guy.
Yeah, I
But
see. I think I seen him in the chat here.
he is. Hi, Gio.
What up,
XX
Gio?
Gio XXX. All right, my brother.
All right.
We'll do it again. Keep up the good work, and like I said, Godspeed to you. All right.
Yeah, well, we're gonna keep winning, and
Yes.
we ain't gonna back down.
No. I'll be right behind you, hiding. All right, bye. All right, my
Yeah,
man. Thank you so
unfortunately, we
much.
got that First Amendment, and unfortunately, we ain't stopping.
That's right. I mean, it's one thing I'm good at is running my mouth. So
Yeah, we're gonna exploit the shit out of that First Amendment right.
we're gonna
Hold these
exploit our
guys.
rights, man.
We're gonna
All of them.
exploit our rights.
Yeah. Especially the Seventh Amendment. If you try to take more than $20 from me, I need a common law jury. All right, bro.
Copyright your face with the 14th. Remember that.
My face is copywritten by the 27th Amendment, 28th Amendment. All right, my man.
All right.
See you, Dan.
See ya.
Bye. All right, everybody. I hope that was interesting, fun, and everything. I'm starting to sweat. I got a bowl of spaghetti waiting for me. My hair's on fleek. My eyebrows are on fleek. Yeah. 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 What else? That's it, man. Check out his channel and this whole story he told. I know I was jumping back and forth and stuff, but the link in the description has Lackluster's channel and his channel. And the video from Lackluster took 4 of his videos, put them all together, and told this whole story we talked about on this interview here. Hi, Blue Steel. Mod you. How do I do that? Let's see. Mod, triple, put user in timeout. No. What's a star do? Star. What just happened? I clicked the star. Where'd you go? Where did you go? Where the hell did you go? What does star mean? I'll make you a mod, dude. Somehow. Show. Show what? No, don't hide. 3 dots. Timeout. No. Star. What does a star do? I don't know what starring does. Why can't I make you a mod? Maybe it's left click? No. Hide. Mod me. Oh. Double you click that, it says mod me. I have no idea how to do it, bro. Star. Unstarred you. All right, man. I'll get you a wrench, dude. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks so much for coming on. Much love. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Hit the like button on the way out. Share everybody's videos on your Facebook, on your Instagram. Let's get this movement going. We've got a good momentum going, and all we need is to really keep the waves of this culture and this mentality of freedom moving forward. In my wonderful singing. Goodbye, subscribers. It's time to go. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.